Leo's insights are presented to challenge, inform, and encourage you in your quest to break free from school-based approaches to education. Building upon a foundation of unschooling, we sincerely hope these insights help you to consider how education can be truly unlimited.
After her mother attended one of AHIA's meetings this fall, she asked me what AHIA actually was, what they were doing, and whether they truly represented and defended home education. Those are tough questions. Let me try to answer them as best I can, but first let's clarify something. That from a biblical perspective, things tend to fall into two categories, such as right or wrong, true or false, heaven or hell, for him or against him, and so on. Therefore, in order to understand the issues at hand, it is important to know that the home education movement is also mostly divided into two camps. While we tend to use the terms homeschooling and home education interchangeably, the two camps are conflicted over whether parents or government has authority and control in the training and teaching of children. There is a lot of confusion as to who believes what, so I'll do my best to delineate between them. I must make you aware that there is usually a progression to greater home education freedom and parental authority that follows a path from school at school to school at home, then homeschooling, followed by home education, and eventually ending up with unschooling. This process can take time, even though we have witnessed some fairly quick movement from school to unschooling. Please note that unschooling is not a verb used to describe leaving school, but rather an adjective describing an educational program free from school ideologies. There are two worldview perspectives at play, made up of those who believe in God and those who don't. Where there is no faith in God, government naturally comes to have undisputed control and authority in education. Consequently, most atheists are homeschoolers, but they may also subscribe to either the home education or unschooling methods. Theistic homeschoolers see God as having the ultimate control and authority in education, but they believe that he empowers the government to deliver and or direct it. When one considers that nearly everyone has been uniquely exposed to a school model and experience, it is easy to understand why most parents teaching their own children will initially subscribe to this perspective. One could say that this is the initial default understanding of education, whether at school or at home. It should also be noted that there is an inherent conflict in this belief, usually due to never having had an alternative viewpoint presented or explained. Christian home educators also see God as having ultimate control and authority. However, these folks believe that God, who gave parents the ability to procreate, also expects them to teach and train the children. They therefore do not acknowledge the government claim to having authority in education and see no need to seek its permission and or approval to do what God has directed parents to do. One can say that this should be the default position of Bible truth seekers. It is important to understand that just as parents fall somewhere between school and unschool, they also find themselves somewhere on a gradient between government and God having all rule, power, and authority. However, if my statement of things being either or is true, it can only be government or God that directs education, hence the two camps in home-based learning. Now, although I would not make the statement of home-based learning in general, I believe that the majority of AHIA members are coming from a Christian faith perspective. If this is the environment that AHIA finds itself in, it must distinguish itself as either supporting the belief that God is in authority or government is. This will determine whether Ahia seeks government for permission and or approval, or makes demands of government towards a goal of parental autonomy and freedom. Now, to finally get around to answering this mother's query, it's hard to describe something that has lost its identity and purpose. Since Ahia's actions display a tendency to return home educators to school-based ideology, it has become like the school in being increasingly antiquated, irrelevant, and obsolete, especially from a Christian unschooling perspective. Furthermore, to continually engage in permission seeking from the government clearly establishes its position as believing that government directs education in direct conflict with its stated claim to Christian faith. I personally think that if it must insist that it is Christian, its actions may not be very convincing. Was the advancement of notification only truly freeing for parents wanting to answer to God rather than men? Was the advancement of questionable bookkeeping and accounting practices truly in keeping with being good stewards? Is the normalizing of a school-based funding system that monetizes the fix to student infirmities something expected from theists? You decide. Personally, I don't think so. Blitzing the province with meetings to persuade members of these accomplishments is likely to invoke more confusion than support when what it is doing seems disconnected from its supposed Christian base. Asking for support must mean it has largely lost it. Asking for money means it is likely broke. Asking where home education would be without Ahia is a legitimate question, best answered with another question. Where has it been? What has been done to help and encourage Christian home educators to understand why unschooling under the direct guidance of God with parents in full authority is not only what we are all striving for, but something truly worth defending? Everything must come to an end. Everything has a shelf life. Could it be that Ahia's is expired? Has that become more of a menace to Christian home education than its protector? Take a look at where it is going for permission and give serious thought to those things it has done, both in the past and most recently. Now, I want to end by applauding the serious efforts of those who have served this agency in the past. As previously mentioned, I don't believe any had evil intent. Many were ill-equipped, while some may have been unduly influenced, but none intended harm to the home education community of Alberta, at least not as far as I know. Still, the old saying of the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Good intentions can only be of value when rooted in truth. Otherwise, all we get is variations of error. Home educating parents want and need to publicly declare their autonomy from government, not further validate its false claim to having authority over parents and education. What do you think?
We trust you were blessed by today's presentation. For more helpful information to guide you in your home education journey, please visit educationunlimited.ca and leogaumont.com. Be sure to like us and share us on Facebook.